Hello, everybody. It's your girl, Ashley, the amateur expert, coming to you live today for this episode of Talk Tuesday. Super excited to have you with us. I am super excited to be talking super fast. Let me slow it down. Happy Talk Tuesday. It's your girl, Ashley, the amateur expert. And I don't know why I was talking so fast before, but I am just excited because I missed you all last week. And this week we are talking to not just a friend of mine, but my therapist who is real. And she is with us now. So I'm going to tap her in so we can get started. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We are going to be talking about Tiffany's career, her ideas of success, and just to learn about her journey. And I truly believe that when you hear other people's story, you're inspired, and her story is incredibly inspiring. So you're in for a treat. Hey, everyone joining. I see you. Happy Talk Tuesday. Hey, y'all. I see Booch in the building. Hey, Tiff.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well. I'm so happy that we're doing this.
Me too.
We have Booch in the building, which makes me so
Hey.
happy. Oh, okay. So, Tiffany, I want to jump right in because I'm a respecter of your time and you are a busy lady. So, I would love for you to please share with us who you are and what you are doing currently for work.
Awesome. So my name is Tiffany. I currently live in LA
Whoop,
by
whoop.
way of lots of different countries and cities in the US. And I'm currently a licensed therapist. So I work with people to be the best version of themselves. And I'm also a founder of an ed tech company called Uprooted Academy, which helps guide students through the college application process, but I'm still informing them using like their nervous system. So that's what it is. That's what I do.
I love that. Okay, so Tiff, when you were a little girl, what did you want to be and sort of what was the motivating factor behind that?
Easy. I wanted to be a lawyer. I love Joan from Girlfriends.
Yes,
And
love that.
like that was my girl. And I honestly never saw her really working. So I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what I want to do. Like she had heels underneath her desk for happy hour. Her girlfriend worked there. They just had a great time in LA. And that's what I thought I wanted until I did an internship and realized they only work. I was like, there's no play for lawyers. So that's basically what happened. And I changed my mind.
I love that. And I changed my mind. Okay. So you sort of hit at some of the things, that it was fun. You don't work a lot, but like, you were able to be with your friends and do things of that nature. So I wonder if you can sort of share like when you were young Tiff thinking maybe I would be a lawyer, what was your idea of success? Um, and like how would you have defined her? What did it look like?
I think it looked like a mix between like Girlfriends and Cosby's, right? Like the Cosby Show. So because I was first in my family to go to college, like I knew that I was gonna go to college. I was like, I'm gonna be rich. And like for me, rich was like, having a place and a car and like, all of those things. So I think success meant like you can do what you want, you can eat where you want, like no one can tell you that you couldn't do anything. And just kind of have like this freedom. And I knew that I didn't want to live like paycheck to paycheck. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that was what I was thinking, like having money in my account. Like if I wanted to do something, it wouldn't be like, oh, we got to save up for a month. It'd be like, yeah, we could do it right now.
Yeah.
So really basic. But I just remember like the Cosbys never had to like wait to do something. They always could do it. And then the girls and girlfriends always got to do all the stuff that they wanted to. So that's kind of what I wanted to do
I
as term
love that.
successful. Yeah.
No, I love that for real, for real. Okay, so you are not a lawyer today.
Mm-mm.
You said that you changed your mind. So can you sort of give us the journey to like, yes, lawyer internship, just kidding. How did we get to Tiff today, who was a teacher? Well, I'll let you share, but like Tiffany today.
Yeah. So did this internship in undergrad. And so the thing about it is like, when I think about success, like I would be an amazing lawyer. Like, I think I could do it really well.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't be happy. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think like there was a time in my life where I was like, man, like is this what it takes to like be successful, is to like have to like not be authentically yourself. And I just had to like make a switch. And so I remember there was this guy who I worked under, Timotheus Pope, and he had this quote that from somewhere else, but he always said, it's far better to prepare youth than to repair adults. And when I think about myself in the legal system,
Can you say that one more time for the people in the back?
For the people in the back. It is far better to prepare youth than to repair adults.
Thank you. Okay.
And I was just like, in the legal system, all you're doing is trying to repair, but I wonder if I can make impact on the other end. And I love working with students. So actually, I was like going like out of my mind my last year in undergrad, because I was like, what am I going to do? I had all my eggs in the law school basket.
And where did you go to college? I'm sorry.
UConn. I see y'all up here, Huskies. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? I got love for Howard too. I went there for grad school. So
Absolutely.
Hello HBCUs. What up?
Okay. Yes. We're all encompassing here, but I just had to make sure we made that distinction. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. And I just remember like working at these camps and like working with people and thinking like, oh my God, I love working with students. And so I was like, how can I do this like for a career? And honestly, my friend Manny, shout out to her. I was living with her at the time. She's like, girl, let's go to Howard One. And I found you a program to apply to. And I was like, what is the program? She's like, you're going to do counseling. And I was like, yes, I was a counselor. This makes so much sense. And then when I got there, I was like in this like school counseling program. And I was like, ooh, this is a lot of red tape and like bureaucratic stuff. I want to work with people like, you know, to be able to help them improve. So went through like a clinical side of it. And so that's kind of how I ended up here, worked at a university, then worked at a high school, then worked for a high school that traveled the globe, now have a private practice. But I just love the idea of people just being the best version of themselves with someone to walk alongside.
Yeah, I love that. And you shared briefly, you sort of tapped into one of my questions, that you had to realize that although you would be successful at being a lawyer, it wouldn't bring you joy, right? And so I wonder if you can share how you are defining success today for yourself.
Yeah, I think I define success like very differently than many people. Like it's almost like what you just said, like if something brings me joy, then that means that like I am successful in that. And so it's funny because I live in LA now, which I never live in a place like really long, like super nomadic. I've lived like on 6 continents, and I love things. And people are like, the question I always get is like, are you settled in LA now? And I'm like, I'm here, right? And they're like, well, what does that mean? I'm like, you'll know when I don't like it because I won't be here anymore. Like, I'll leave. Like, and for me, I always had this idea of stability is internal, not like a structure. And so for me, yeah, success is this idea that I can choose joy on demand. And so whether that is, you know, riding my bike, I'm pointing to my bike, or like going surfing or hanging out with friends or doing nothing, like I think I made it because I have that flexibility to do that. And so I just like to lean into that all day, just because I think it brings me so much happiness. And I like being a lawyer, I would have lived my life for someone else. And like I said, sometimes we're like really good at stuff. But, you know, Ashley, the funny thing about being a lawyer that I'm so happy I'm not, it took so much energy from me. Like I have a really good friend, you know, Jeannie. Jeannie is a lawyer, and Jeannie is sharp, and she is incredible. And I don't think that she has to put on a cape all day to be a lawyer. Like it's ingrained in her.
Yeah.
For me, it was so much energy to be like sharp and direct. I was like, I just want to hold their hand. Like, I just want to figure out what happened. And
we all have our strengths. We all have our strengths. And I love that. Like, you would have to, it's not that you couldn't do it, but there was that extra, that's not something that came naturally to you. And I love that you share that, because I do think that a lot of times, myself included, I put myself in a box of like, oh, I can do this, let me do it, but it doesn't feel good, right? Like, I don't like it. Ew, no, thank you. I love this. Okay, so tell me, what is something that you know now that you wish you would have known sooner when you were starting in your career?
Oof. I wish I would have known that especially now, like now I work for myself. But even before that, so I used to teach in the undergrad and grad psych program at a university. And I remember getting this job, like people wanted me to work there. Like I was like a direct recommendation from the chair of the department. And I just remember going in there and
we love a flex. We love a flex. Yes, yes, yes.
And I remember like, and maybe some of my students are watching this because they're like, follow me now. They're like adults. But I just remember feeling like I had to wear this suit and like this, like, I was just overcompensating. Like I still to this day sometimes don't trust my own intellect. It's actually on my vision board is like to like own your intellect, own your awesomeness, like own your dopeness. Because I think like I always feel like I have to prove myself. And especially like as faculty, like I was like the only Black woman. And so I was just like overly anxious and I was nervous and I was doing the most. And ultimately I didn't need to do anything but be me. And even like in my private practice, like Ashley knows me now, but like previously I used to like dress up every day to like meet with clients. And now if y'all see me, you know, I'm just like, I'm gonna be comfortable. Like this is my business, right? Yes. And so I think just learning to just be like authentically myself, like obviously there's times where you have to work a certain way, but I think I was doing the most. I just didn't trust my own intellect and trust that like I earned this. Like I worked really hard for this position. They're not testing me. Like, you know, I'm actually testing them. Like, do I like it here? I can go somewhere else. And I think if I had that, like that boldness, I would have moved a little bit differently and probably would have enjoyed some earlier moments that I was just like living within a lot of insecurity.
That was very, very well said. And you dropped a plethora of gems, my dear. But one thing I want to just sort of reel us back into, and I think it's something that you have, something I've identified that I need to work on, but something that you said just sort of stuck with me. It was knowing how to, well, not overcomplicating it, right? One. Two, you'd earned it. You've got all the qualifications. You can show up and just be your authentic self. But how does one, and maybe we need to talk through this next week. No, I'm just kidding. But how does one fully know, or how does one begin to tap into like their full self, right? Like, how do I know I'm not wearing a cape, or like I am not living for someone else, right? Because like a lot of times it's just like the motions, right? Like, is this what we do? It's how we do it. It's like, I don't know. Is it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one of the things that comes to mind is there's things that when we say like, hey, what was the last time you had like a lot of fun, right? And I would ask myself that question. And if you ask yourself, like, when the last time you had a lot of fun, maybe it was with a work situation, maybe it was a person, or maybe you were doing something. And I would say, how did your body feel in that? Like, was it relaxed? Was it neutral? What emotions came with that? And what thoughts, like, you know, were accompanying with that embodiment? And then I would say, filter using that as a template of joy and filtering everything else that you're doing through that template, right? If you're asking if you're doing something and you're saying, I'm doing it because it brings me joy, then find a moment that was actually like joyful. You don't have to like dig up reasons why it was joyful, but you could just like, that's the first thing that comes to mind. And then filter your current situations through that. And, you know, obviously sometimes we don't have the ability to leave situations, right? And so, but maybe it's an acknowledgement of it. And then when you acknowledge it, you can start making changes, right? So as you're in this situation that doesn't bring joy, now you realize it doesn't, you can now look for something different. And so I think sometimes we're just in denial. Like, I know I lived that way. Like, I was like, oh no, I love this. I'm like, no, you don't.
I just think, right? Or people tell me I should.
Yeah, you should be grateful. Like, this whole idea of like being grateful for things is like really a crutch, especially like, you know, communities of color where we feel like, oh, you know, our ancestors couldn't do this, so we should be happy that we're doing it. It's like, wait a minute, they want us to have joy. They don't want us to have like this like complacency or whatever. And so I think that's what I normally do. And I've had to learn to do that. Like if I have a really great time, like if I'm hanging out with someone and I have a really beautiful moment, I'm like, oh, that brought me so much joy. I try to sit with that so my body can register that as like true, authentic joy. So then I can have like an indicator when it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah. No, that's good. Okay. Thank you for just allowing me to ask that sidebar question. A little free therapy for y'all. Okay, you're welcome.
That's right.
Okay, so tell me this. What are some things that you use personally as tips, or like, or tips that you've been given, or like how do you motivate yourself to like just keep moving forward?
So I have a really good accountability, I think, even outside of myself, right? Like we all have our own goals, but we don't always have the strength to pursue them all the time. Like no one is all the time motivated. Like even like I'm pretty intrinsically motivated, but not 100% of the time. And usually it's in the moments when I'm not that I probably need to keep pushing. So I tell my dreams to people. And when I used to work with like students in high school, there's all these like nuances that we have, especially as like folks of color, if that's like how you identify, where it's like, don't tell people your dreams because they're either going to steal it or they're going to like hate on you. And I really don't subscribe to that. You know, I have found opposite. I have found as soon as I tell people my dream, people are willing to make things happen for me.
Yes.
And so I have learned to like release that like assumption, just like I release the assumption like, oh, girls can't get along together, right? Like there's things that we have to let go of to like actually give us the things that we want. And so accountability is number one. Number two is I'm really kind to myself. So I have things that I would like to do. And then things that like, if they don't get done, I realize it's not the end of the world. And learning to give myself grace. I used to be a perfectionist. Like ask anyone that knew me, like I had a really hard time with like not doing all the things at once. And I think part of it, and as I like navigate this whole space of like being first generation, right? I'm first generation again, like ed tech founder or whatever. And so it's like, being first gen was like a pride of like a badge of honor for me, but it also put this like fear on me, like, oh no, I don't want to let other people down.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, Tiff, it's you versus you. Like nobody cares. Like I remember when I was like, nobody even knows you're doing this, first of all. And so like relax, you know? And so I think relaxing, accountability, being kind to myself,
Giving yourself
being
grace.
okay. Yeah, being okay if I can't do everything. And also perfection is not the goal, but growth is. And so I remember when I had a friend, when I was getting ready to release, I have an app. And so I was getting ready to release it. And I was like, but it's not perfect. And she was like, you know how much money we spend on iPhones that are not perfect, but they still release it? And then they're like, there's going to be an update later. We'll figure it out. But they still put it out there.
Yeah.
And so I think like if you are trying to do something and you're worried about like the end pinnacle of success, I would just worry about the first step of it, right? Like, and understand that those steps are not steps to success. Those steps are success. And it's like we need to
in my spur.
we need to really lean into like this idea that like success is not the end. It's every day that I wake up. And so whether for you it's day by day, for some people it's minute by minute, and others is second by second. But I think like giving yourself permission to like celebrate that. So that's another thing that helps me too, is to celebrate little things. Because I feel like, to be honest with you, imposter syndrome happens because we don't pause in our little moments of celebration. So we get somewhere and we're like, how did we get here? We're like, don't remember the process. But when we celebrate, we can definitely do that.
Listen, I am like trying to digest all of these things because whoa. I mean, how are y'all feeling in the comments? Please let me know. No, but seriously, I think especially for me personally, the last 2 weeks, my life has literally been a whirlwind, right? And I'm like still trying to say what just happened. I'm still trying to digest what just happened. It really and truly feels as though I've been living in a dream, and I'm like trying to pinch myself to wake up, but it hurts. So I am awake, but I don't understand what is happening. But that was really, really good. So thank you for your transparency.
But isn't it crazy though? Isn't it crazy that like the dream that you want to wake up for is actually the dream that you had, but you got to live it, but we still don't like, it's almost like, what's the point of our vision boards if like we're going to be so surprised that it come true, right? Like
no, but yes, but also but also the things that have been happening are things that I have never, like, they're not even on my vision board,
That's
right?
even
So
greater.
it's like, whoa, 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 hold on. Like, I thought it was here and now we're here. Thank you, God. But I mean, hold on. How do I catch up? How do I catch up? Like,
Yeah.
literally. So one of the comments said, you're screaming. You are. Can you please just keep it down just a little bit because you're hurting us on the inside.
Y'all are so
But we love
funny.
it. Give us more. Give us more. Give us more. Okay, Tiff. Whew, like my heart is racing. There's so many things that are happening on the inside of me. One, I just love you because you're just an amazing person. Someone in the comments said you've always been a real one, which is the truth.
Okay.
You keep it real, and you've been literally dropping all of the gems. So I want to know from you, like my heart, I just can't even take it. Okay. Breathing exercises. Okay. So accountability is a big thing. Shout out to my friend Sierra, who has the accountability partner, accountability partner podcast, so she drops gems there as well. But I want to talk to you about your app in Uprooted, their Uprooted Academy. I want to know how we got there and how it's going and how we can support you in that mission.
So Uprooted Academy is the thing that you just talked about. Like the thing I'm like, how did we get here? Right? Like I should be traveling the globe with students, like doing my job that I absolutely loved. And so I can say this, I was working for a high school that traveled the globe as their like school and college counselor. And I think one of the things that we pride ourselves in is that we create change makers. And so during COVID, I was back in the US and I started to see a need of folks who needed support with college applications, right? And so we know that like historically, like folks who need support, if you have the ability, right, your parents can either fill in the gaps for you because they went to college, or you can hire a private counselor. But like unfortunately, like students like who I was growing up wouldn't have that flexibility. And so with COVID, I realized that like there was a huge gap in the market and the gap was just going to continue to widen. And so I couldn't like authentically go back to this school where we tell kids to like see issues in their community to create change and then like go gallivanting and like not create the change in my backyard. And so Uprooted Academy, we are a tech platform. So we use tech through an app to guide students through that like actual content that they need to be competitive, right? Because like kids at universities, like it's not always the smartest kid, it's the kid who navigated the application, right? And so like when you think about like gatekeepers and anything, whether it's an internship, study abroad, job, college, it's an application. Like how do I shine in the application? Because people will tell you all the time, I applied to like 100 jobs, but I never got a call back. It's like, because you didn't know like the keywords, you didn't know there's a cheat code to this.
Yeah.
And so because I knew that cheat code, I was like, okay. But I also wanted to merge my mental health side. So I don't just teach students about the college application process. My goal is to teach them to be comfortable taking risk, because I know if we can have them take a risk and understand their nervous system, which can be safe in doing difficult things. And if they can take that risk and applying to college, guess what? They're going to take that risk and going abroad, you know, taking that job out of their state. They're going to like do all the big things that we actually want them to do. But like, I realized like one of my personal passions when I work with people like on the mental health side is like, hey, what your body's interpreting as dangerous, and whenever our body has anything that's dangerous, what we do is we fight, flight, freeze, or appease, right? And so when we interpret that as dangerous, we're not in safety. So for most kids, they're going to opt out of the process, or they're going to appease their guidance counselor or their parents. But I want kids to live in safety with risk taking, because taking risk is not dangerous. It's just new. And so how could we get students' ability to understand their nervous system while they're going through the college application process? Because then it's a game changer. Like all of us that didn't do something, if you ask yourself, like, why didn't you do it? It's like, oh, it felt scary. And it was like, when you look around, there was nothing scary about it, but that's what your nervous system thought. And so your nervous system is going to take care of you, and it's going to just back up. But we have to get our students to feel a sense of safety. And so that's kind of what we do. How can you all support if you have like, you know, schools or like kids that are like applying, like going through the application process? You could send them to our page and kind of like navigate that. We're going to do like virtual events and things of that nature. But it's just a really good opportunity for students to feel good in this collective space of like, you know, being able to navigate this scary process, but doesn't have to be scary.
Y'all, this is my therapist. This is also my friend. She is doing amazing
Yay.
work, not only changing my life, like, and help rewiring this, but literally being a change agent, which I'm just so proud of you.
Aw.
So please share how people. I'm not sure if you're taking any new clients, and if you're gonna take more and it's gonna take away from my sessions, sorry guys, she's unavailable. No,
Not
just
at
kidding.
all. She said, "Don't do it."
Listen, I love y'all, but no. But I want you to just like give us how we reach out to you, what do you offer, all of the things.
Yeah, so my practice is all around your nervous system. So events are events with words, but our words are actually the last things that happen for us when it comes to experiences. The first thing that happens is your body has a response, and then your body tells you what emotion you should feel. And then your words are the last thing that come into play. And that's just because we're smart and our brains are developed. But like I always give the example, like if you grew up in a household where like someone was really angry, and maybe every time the door opened when you were a kid, your stomach would drop just a little bit. And it would like give the emotion of fear. And then you might just shut down, or you just might like, zone out. You might do all these things. And then today, like, years later, you're not even in that house anymore. Anytime someone opens the door, your body, like your tummy drops, you're nervous, and you're like, why am I nervous? It's because it's already programmed. So what I work with is I do a couple of forms of modalities. I do EMDR, and I do brain spotting, and some parts work. And we try to figure out why those parts are still working as if it's happening today. And how we can like recalibrate that so that way it can be free and clear and only respond to actual dangerous things. And so we don't need those alerts, like kind of beeping off. And then for the other end of the spectrum, some people are totally disconnected, but we want to connect you because like life is full of emotions, and feelings are safe, including things like anger and anxiety. They're all supposed to just be indicators of whether we should move forward or pause. And so we need those things to be working really well in order for us to like move forward in life. And so that is what the work that I do. So it's different than like, we do talk, right? Actually, we do talk, but it's not what we consider talk therapy. Talk therapy talks around an issue, intellectualizing it. But our intellect actually has nothing to do with our body. And so what you need to do is activate through the body to heal those parts that still feel like it's traumatized. It still feels like it's younger. And so when you can do that, then you can put information in there, but it has to start with the body. Our body is our core. It's how we were born. And so it's a little bit flipped upside down, but the good thing is it doesn't take as long to process things. You can process things really quickly and you can get some things in the past really quickly. But it's done in a way that is safe. And remember, you already survived every event. And so we're just going back to sweep it up. And so you can find me. You can find me at like liveuprootednow.com is my website, and or you could message me.
Okay, so we'll be sure to put that your contact info or the website and your handles on in the show notes, so anyone who isn't listening live can go back and find you. She is really good at what she does, y'all. Like I can't really explain it. I don't have the words to, but my body has been recalibrated and my mind is free and it's all good things. So Tiff, you know that not only am I the host of the Amateur Expert podcast, I also am the owner, founder, all whatever the words are for Affirmed Armor.
Yeah.
And in March, we released a new affirmation, which is I'm evolving. And so I would love to know if you can share with me your go-to affirmation.
My go-to affirmation is, I think of this season, is I am enough.
That was our first affirmation.
I know.
So
Yes.
tell us why does that resonate with you in this season?
I think in this, I'm first gen entrepreneur. It's really scary sometimes, even though it's going well, it's still just very scary. And then also I'm in the ed tech field. And so, and also in the ed tech field with college access. And to give you a little picture of the landscape, it's like usually funded by, white men, and usually the face of college access on like large scales, usually white women. Even when it comes to like working with Black and brown children, we're usually the worker bees of those organizations. But, you know, I'm in these spaces and I'm having conversations with like superintendents and like, you know, executive directors of charter networks. And it's really scary to me sometimes. But I have to remember, like, what I have is their answer, and I am enough. And it's okay. They're going to have to get used to me and, you know, get used to like this new thing that's happening, which is like a tech base and also from a Black woman. And so every day when I have these conversations, and usually even like my consultants and my coaches and my advisors are all white men. Because they've dominated this field. And sometimes I sometimes want to show up like insecure and like I'm their little daughter. And it's like, no, Tiff, like you're their peer. They own a tech company. You own a tech company. Like, it's okay. And so I think I am enough has had to be something that I have to think about every day.
I love that. And I want you to know that I'm wearing an Affirmed Armor shirt right now.
Let me see.
And
yes.
it literally says,
oh, that's the one with the I am enough. Yeah.
It literally says I'm enough. I was like, I wonder if I'm wearing I'm evolving or I'm enough. But it's I'm enough. How appropriate. How appropriate. Well, I want to thank you again for being on the show, for your transparency, for sharing all the things that you shared with us today, for being my therapist and my friend. Someone did ask if you were taking more clients. I will have her reach out to you directly to see if you have capacity. And I would suggest that everyone do that because we don't know what your needs are and we don't want to just open up a can of worms. But she's amazing, amazing. And I'm sure if she can help you, she will find someone else who can. Y'all, this has really blessed my soul. I hope it blessed yours as well. Tiff, is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we go?
Be brave. And if you find yourself not being brave, figure out why, because on the other side of brave is amazing and joy and just peace. And, you know, actually all my clients know that I surf, and I always use the analogy that like the first wave that's coming at you that you need to ride the wave on is the scariest wave. But actually, once you ride that wave, if you just allow the wave to do what it does, you're going to end up back at shore. And so a lot of us, we want to like reject this idea of like being brave for the first one. But that's really the hardest part. And I just know like on the other side of it, it's just so many amazing things. And so whatever you want to do, just be brave and do it. And just understand, I always use this and I tell students this, tell your body that it's not anxiety, it's actually excitement. Because our bodies register excitement and anxiety the same way. But if you're predispositioned to think it's always anxiety because of like, oh, butterflies, or, oh, maybe this is a sign from the Lord. Like, no, maybe this is excitement. And so sit with that, be brave, notice it as excitement. If it's not dangerous, go for it. And so that's it.
I love it. And also, so I think my brain has just been jumbled up because I'm so excited I haven't seen you in so long. And also, so literally the closing question of the Amateur Expert podcast is, I'm the Amateur Expert. I know a little bit about a lot. So can you please share something with me? So I want us to just reel back just a little bit, go back to the surfing tip, right? Or the surfing example, and maybe just give us a little bit more. So if I'm paddling out, I think this is how I would. I've never said, but okay. I'm paddling out. What are my next steps? How do I ride the wave?
So number one, you turn away from the thing that you're afraid of. So a lot of times, if you don't want to ride the wave, you keep looking at the wave. And looking at the wave feels really dangerous, which is why you're so frozen. You don't want to turn away from it. But actually, if you keep looking at the wave, every time it comes over you, it just like kind of plummets your face, right? And so you're overwhelmed. You got to get your bearings back. And you just like, ooh, this was a lot. And so you feel like if that's a lot looking at it, it must be even scarier not to look at it. But actually, if you just turn around and you don't look at the thing that you're so afraid of, that thing is actually going to just ride you up. So even if you are a surfer and you can't actually stand on the board, you can actually just like boogie board it in, because just by the way the waves work, guess where it's going to take you, baby? To shore. And when we're at shore, it's amazing because you know what surfers do when they look at shore? They look back and they're like, wow, we just did that, right? Like you see that wave, like we just did that. And you get to have reflection. but there's no reflection if you have to stay in the middle of the ocean and the waves just keep coming at you. It's always like you're just guarding yourself. You're bracing yourself, then you're getting hit. You're bracing, you're getting hit. And it feels really harsh. All you got to do is turn away from the thing that you're afraid of and let that bad boy just ride you in.
Love
So,
it. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I also feel that I'm feeling God is telling me that you need to have a podcast. I don't know. It just dropped into my spirit. So I had to share. But you've got it. You've got the voice. You've got the
It's
personality.
coming.
You've got the
It's
knowledge.
coming back. I used to have a
Wait.
podcast.
And
Yes.
we need more. We need more.
Yeah, it's going to come back. Maybe this is helpful. You know, the podcast thing was audio, but now everybody wants to see you.
We want to see you, girl. We want to see you. Yes.
Oh yeah. But thank you so much. This was so cool. We've been talking about this for so long, but I feel like this was the right time.
It was the perfect time. Yes, Booch said we need the podcast. So we look forward to supporting you and your podcast, your app, your tech ed adventures and your life adventures. I want to go surfing with you. So let's do it. Let's make it happen. I love you. You guys have a great week, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.